All right. Hello, folks. My shirt's bothering me today. There it is. Set the comments up. Bam, bam. All right, comments are good. The shirt is bothering me today. This is going to be one of these days. I could tell when I put it on. I don't like when my shirt's like uneven on my shirt under here, but it is. And then I'm looking at it backwards. Anyway, hello all. All right, this is good. Let me get my... That's right, Instagram. All right, Substack is there. Substack, turn off my volume, there we go. All right, hold on here. All right, there we go. Hello, Substackers. 3 of you are hiding there, excellent. Wasn't as crazy as you thought. I mean, well, I think it depends on the title, Amanda, as far as who comes, you know what I mean? It's always very weird. Hey guys, hey Okra. All right, TikTok starting, and then we are good. All right. All right. 1 second here. All right, flipping this. All right, we're good. We're good. Whew. Hey, JMC. Yeah, so, well, we can start with that story. Anyway, welcome everybody. John Arvosis here, Washington, D.C. Talk about the latest news. What is today? Today's Tuesday, actually. Okay, today's Tuesday. As always, I'm going to go through the news, tell you what I think matters. We can start with the Moscow stuff since people are talking about it. That's totally fine. Do keep the gifts coming. Very much appreciate the gifts on TikTok and YouTube and everywhere else. So keep them coming. We'll talk about Dolly. Oh yeah, we'll talk about Dolly. But maybe we'll start with the Canada stuff. Not Canada, Russia a little bit. You know, the CIA director, U.S. CIA director, went to Russia today. Went to Moscow. Why, we don't know. I mean, we don't know. This shirt is going to just drive me bonkers here. All right. Sorry. I like to have my T-shirt even with my shirt, and it doesn't always do that. But it went to Moscow. We don't quite know why. Michael Weiss, I'm going to pull up Michael's thing. I was going to talk about it later, but we can talk about it now. Defense analyst I really like. He wrote today, if I had to wager, I'd say Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe is, CIA director of Trump's. If I had to wager, I'd say Ratcliffe is in Moscow to warn about Russian escalation against Europe and NATO, linked to U.S. intelligence shared with Poles, Balts, and Scandinavians, and comes amid a noticeable uptick in suspected GRU sabotage operations and Russian drone activity. See Germany, Bulgaria, Romania. You don't need Director of Central Intelligence for prisoner swaps. Ratcliffe is also the most pro-Ukraine official in the administration, responsible for helping Kyiv with deep strikes. Context here is important. Bill Burns went to Moscow in 2021 to warn Putin against invading Ukraine. So the idea here is that it's possible, I mean, it's all conjecture, possible a CIA director went to Moscow to warn them because the Russians have been, doing more and more and more in terms of this drone attack they did on a German airport. I mean, they've done actual war, not war crimes, that's what I'm looking for, acts of war against NATO. Attack. They put out a hit on the head of a German defense contractor. I mean, crazy stuff. And now they're pissed at the Brits for giving the Ukrainians, plans to Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Basically, it reminds me of Trump in a way. I mean, the Russian government, where there's a very immature, childlike kind of temper tantrum thing they do. But in the Russians' case, they then blow things up when they have temper tantrums. So it is possible the CIA director is going, and now, to warn them, they better not increase their attacks against Europe. Having said that, knowing Donald Trump, it's just as possible the CIA director is going to appease them, because that's what he does. That's what Trump does, at least. Whether Ratcliffe does is another question, right? But he could have been sending Trump there to be like, oh, we're your friend, Putin. Don't be me. Who knows, right? Any case, who knows? So otherwise, the New York Times I was going to read a sort of a paragraph about them. Canada, Trump is insistent on starting a trade war with Canada. The Canadians retaliated against today, which, glad they did. But it's, Democrats can't do anything about anything, Paula. Democrats are not in power is the problem. Sorry, Paula said, when are Democrats going to do something? This is something that even a lot of Americans aren't fully appreciating. Americans elected Republicans to run our government. Republicans run the presidency. Republicans run the entire Congress. Democrat and Senate, House and Senate run by Republicans. All the courts run by Republicans. Supreme Court run by Republicans. Currently, Democrats don't control anything. There's nothing Democrats can do. Thank you, Gene. And it's an important point because I get frustrated too, but there isn't much Democrats can do other than put out, statements and things, but that's about it. So, the elections are in November. They can do a little bit more, hopefully. But anyway, Canada, New York Times, Canada announced retaliatory tariffs as high as 50% on hundreds of American products on Tuesday, just days after collapse of trade talks triggering punishing tariffs from the Trump administration. What I thought was interesting is the article in the Times mentioned that, we get U.S. trade is a much larger portion of Canada's economy than Canadian trade is the American economy. In other words, we can do a lot more damage to the Canadians than the Canadians can do to us. And that's true overall. What the Times mentioned, which I thought was interesting, after mentioning that, they noted, economists are skeptical about the effect of import tariffs. But many say that a different tactic could jar the U.S. economy, taxing exports from Canada to the United States of oil, natural gas, and electricity, as well as minerals like potash, a key fertilizer. Polls suggest that the idea is even more popular with Canadians than import tariffs as a response to Trump. And that's the thing, that Canada does import some very necessary, or export some very necessary things to the U.S., including energy, but also potash, like I said, which is key for American farmers who are already in trouble because of Trump. They can do, and wood products as well, which Americans use to build homes and everything else. So, Canada can't do enough to damage our economy entirely, but they can damage some key sectors that Trump will not be happy. So that's not such a bad, and honestly, Canada better get ready to do that because, again, you're dealing with a jerk here. He's not going to listen unless you basically hit him hard. In any case, thank you, Blue. Trump today tweeted, I mention this stuff because he's such a child that I think it's important because this stuff, adjusting my light again, this stuff I think will have an impact when the elections come because, some people say, oh, why do you talk about all the stupid stuff Trump does? It doesn't matter, whatever. I think it pisses people off. Trump today tweeted and said, I'm thinking of renaming Lake Ontario Lake America because I'm angry at the Canadians. And I hear that, and I hear a 10-year-old boy stamping his feet because he sounds like an idiot. He sounds like a child. He sounds like somebody incredibly like, I'm going to rename the lake because you're mean to me. I said today, I think the Canadians ought to just rename Trump's children and say, that's fine. You can rename Lake Ontario. We're going to rename your children and your wife. From now on, your wife is going to be, I don't know, think of a name for her, right? And your kids, we're just, actually, even better, you. We're just going to come up with a new name for you. Whatever his name. Oh, shake your head. Oh, okay. Oh, hello. There's a seal on my head. Thank you. Thank you, Sadie. But I really do. I think he just needs to be kind of slapped around the same way he likes to slap everybody else around at this point. But they really should go after potash, though. They have to go after potash and that kind of stuff. Absolutely have to. Gunther was saying there was a language issue as well because the Canadians were talking about this yesterday. The U.S. wanted Canada and Quebec, especially the French province in Canada, to roll back or weaken French language requirements and digital content laws that the U.S. viewed as trade barriers for American companies. And the thing is, you know what? No, interesting point, fair point. Call Me Chevy says, Trump is a great troller. Your reaction is what he wants. Yes and no. Yes and no. Donald Trump is an insecure child. Donald Trump thinks, interestingly, I've always said this before, it's Napoleon complex, but like both sides. Like, he knows Trump thinks he's very insignificant. And how do I want to phrase this? Trump thinks he's very important and he thinks nobody respects him. Maybe that's the best way to put it. So he's very insecure about who he is, but he thinks, I'm so important. Why does nobody recognize how important I am? So I've got to cry. And to me, if somebody is psychologically damaged like that, you poke them even more. So I think absolutely. I think people should be poking him left and right and talking about how insignificant he is other than his size. I mean, that's what I would hit him with. I would just hit him left and right with everything if I were Canada and all the countries around the world. Because he uses these personal insults because that's what works for him and that's what he's afraid of. I don't know. I would. I mean, let me put it this way. I would do it if I thought it achieves a purpose. There's no point in trolling him just to troll him. But if you think it achieves something, and I think it might, if enough countries got together and just mocked him and just said, he's a joke, unfortunately, and I mean, I could say other things. TikTok would get upset if I said the other things about Trump. But you comment on everything, his physicality, his love of Liberace things. You know what I mean? The way he comments on young men's physique all the time, the way he dances to the YMCA. If I were foreign leaders, if I were foreign leaders, the things I would say about him, I'd say, I think it's great that America's got its first president. Its first president who is openly and likes to dance to the village people. And I mean, I likes Liberace and likes to decorate and do his hair. I think it's great. Right? I mean, that's the stuff I would throw if I were the Canadians. I would literally, and the point is, I think the trolling, I really do. I think honestly, he deserves it at this point. I think he's a horrible person, and he deserves to be smacked down a little bit too, Anyway, that's what's up with Canada. Trump, we found out, I kind of missed this yesterday. Exactly. He and his best friend, Lindsay, exactly. Trump is now threatening to tear down the Kennedy Center. I kind of, I saw something about this yesterday, and but I didn't quite get it when I saw it yesterday. So they go to court yesterday, right? And Trump is, demanding thank you, Aileen, demanding the Kennedy Center be shut down for 2 years because it's in such bad shape, only he can save it. Well, now Trump's lawyer is telling the court that the Kennedy Center is in such bad shape that if the court doesn't let Trump shut it down, he's considering knocking the entire thing down and leaving a hole in the ground that he's then going to turn into an open theater. I mean, again, the judge ought to tell him over my dead body. Good luck doing that. Trump tries to do it. I mean, that's where people need to just say that's it. Like, people literally need to go there and just do civil disobedience to lay down and stop him from doing it. I mean, this is the kind of sophomoric, immature, and again, this is why I say, I think you do hit him where it counts. I think you do treat him with the same sophomoric insults he gives to us. He doesn't like things torn down. I mean, Democrats take over the Congress in the fall. They need to just go scorch earth with this guy. I mean, he's going to tear down the Kennedy Center. The other thing, too, is, you know what? I would be like, go ahead. Anything you do, actually, you know what I'd say? I'd say, go ahead, because we're going to rebuild it, and we're going to take the money from Republican states, actually. And no Republican state is getting any money until we've rebuilt everything Donald Trump has taken down, or we've taken down everything Donald Trump has built. We're going to take down the arch. We're going to rebuild the east wing of the White House. We're going to do everything. Everything's happened. We're going to fix, and Republican states aren't going to get any money until it's fixed. So, Donald, you want to knock it down? Be my guest. We're going to get more marble from the Italians, and we're going to rebuild it. And it's going to be bigger and better than ever. Right. We're going to repaint Air Force One, rename the ships in the military, just hit him with everything. But I mean, let him know, literally, you're not going to exist once you leave Washington. You will not exist. Anything named after you will be unnamed. Anything built for you will be unbuilt, will be knocked down. And just hit it, hit him where it counts, Anyway, what else we got? Dolly Parton. So Dolly Parton died today. Dolly Parton was a very famous American country singer, really neat woman. I mean, just like everyone loved her. She never got involved in politics directly, but she used her fame to do good things. She promoted women's equality in the workplace and things like that. She stood up for gay people, stood up for trans people. But again, didn't get involved in politics as politics, Republican, Democrat, all of that. But she used her fame Yeah, are they gone? Or more? Well, I wasn't looking at the other one. Like I said, I could pull up the other one, but it's just like too much on my screen if I pull up the this way versus this way YouTube. But yeah, so Dolly died. She was only 80. I say only because it's not that old. It's old, but it's not that old. I kind of think of 90 as old now, but maybe it's because as I get older, like you kind of move the cutoff like further up. You know what I mean? But anyway, so really neat woman. Oh, now the sun's getting, seriously? Let's see what it does. I opened the window because the sun wasn't coming out. Now it's coming out. But yeah, really neat singer, really neat woman. I just watched a clip of her on Johnny Carson. It was very funny. They're always very funny, but neat lady. Mail-in ballots. So there was another court case today about the mail-in ballots. So let's recap kind of where this is, okay? Trump is trying to do what he can to impact our elections. I have to use careful language because TikTok doesn't like when we talk about these topics. One of the things he's trying to do is ban mail-in ballots because he thinks that mail-in ballots help Democrats win elections, so he wants to stop Democrats from winning elections. He wants to take away their votes. He is trying to use the Postal Service to basically stop people to vote by mail. It's very complicated, but that's what he's doing. The case goes to the Supreme Court, and what the Supreme Court says is, look, we're not going to get into the issue of whether or not what Trump is doing is constitutional, whether or not Trump can ban mail-in ballots. Because what the Supreme Court did yesterday, they said the issue isn't ripe yet. It is a technicality, exactly, Robert. The issue isn't ripe yet. The court said the Postal Service has not finished coming up with its rules. So Trump came up with his order, an executive order, it's like a paragraph, a page, whatever. The Postal Service then needs to write their rules and regulations to implement Trump's order. In other words, I tell you what to do verbally, and then you sit down and write, a memo saying exactly how you're going to do it, right? Like your boss tells you to do something, and you might write a booklet laying out how the marketing strategy, the this, the that, right? Kind of a similar thing with government. Congress, for example, will often tell an executive branch agency to do something, and then the executive branch agency has to come up with the rules and regulations to implement it. So what the Supreme Court said yesterday was, it was too early for the Democrats to sue. That the Postal Service, which Trump is using to basically stop mail-in ballots in many ways, had not yet come up with its rules and regulations implementing Trump's order. And until we see what the Postal Service is planning on doing, the Supreme Court said, it's too early to rule that what the Postal Service is doing is unconstitutional, right? Because we don't know what they're doing yet, right? And it's not a bad argument, actually, like I was saying yesterday, right? So in any case, that's kind of where things are. So today, what happened was the Postal Service moved ahead with coming up with its plan for how it's going to implement Trump's order. And the court stepped in and said, no, a lower court, because there was a lower court that basically put a block on Trump moving ahead on this proposal. And what the court said was, the court order said, you cannot initiate or complete rulemaking. You can't even initiate it. And Trump initiated it today by basically coming up with some new rules. They're not finalized, but they were working on them, and I think they made them public. And the court said, you're not allowed to do that. So the question will be whether the Supreme Court or an appeals court jumps in and overrules this, but basically it's still up in the air. We definitely have not lost yet. I will put it that way. So let's see what happens. It's complicated. It's law stuff. It's complicated. Hegseth in the New York Times. So this was interesting. This was actually kind of a scary article in the New York Times today. Listen to this. A series of firings and feuds initiated by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has left the U.S. Army essentially rudderless as it struggles to deal with the threat posed by cheap, deadly drones and missiles that have pounded U.S. bases in the Middle East. Thank you, NJ. Thank you, Pingu. The Army has not had a chief of staff, the service's top officer, since Mr. Hegseth fired General Randy George without explanation in April, and there are no signs that he's close to filling the position. Mr. Hegseth has forced out at least 3 senior officers who had been viewed as potential successors to General George. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, the service's top civilian leader, is also expected to leave in the next few months. The turmoil comes as the Army, the military's largest service, faces its busiest period since the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Army air defense soldiers are playing the leading role in defending U.S. troops in the Middle East from increasingly sophisticated Iranian missile attacks. The Army's command in Europe is providing critical intelligence and other support to Ukraine as it fights to hold off a larger Russian force. Basically, as Patty just said, it's a shit show. Trump basically has eviscerated our military. The U.S. Army has no leadership at all. That's insane. Thank you, Linda, for the tomato. Absolutely insane. I mean, how many different ways do we have to talk about what Donald Trump has done to eviscerate our military and to undercut our military in terms of leaving our troops in the Middle East for far too long so that they were literally jumping off of the ships, right? And now we're at war and he's cut off the leadership, basically decapitated the U.S. Army. Maybe, you know, not good stuff. Iranian mines. So Trump had kind of a what I consider somewhat funny statement today about Iranian landmines, except these are sea mines, right, in the Strait of Hormuz. He tweets and says, "I have just been informed by the United States Navy that all mines have been removed and or detonated from within the international waters of the Strait of Hormuz." I don't think they're international waters, but whatever. Here's my favorite part. Iran has been notified that any ship or boat placing new mines will be immediately and systematically destroyed. First of all, what's the difference between immediate and systematic? I'm a little confused about that. We're not just going to immediately blow up Iran's mines. We're going to immediately and systematically blow them up. I'm not quite sure what that means. Second of all, Donald Trump today, August 25th. How many when did the war actually start? When did we go in this time around? Let me think. Alexa, what date did the U.S. current war with Iran start this year? When did we start bombing?
The U.S.-Iran war started on February 28, 2026, when Operation Epic Fury...
Ooh, okay. February 28th. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. So February 28th to August 25th is 6 months, all right? 6 months. Now, listen to this again. 6 months into the war, Donald Trump just notified Iran that any ship or boat placing mines will be destroyed. Okay, seriously? It was totally cloudy and I opened the window. As long as it's not, it annoys me a little, but we'll see if I can handle it with the sun coming in. Why is Donald Trump 6 months into the war for the first time telling Iran that they better not put landmines or sea mines in the Strait of Hormuz? Why is he telling them that today? Why didn't he tell them that 6 months ago? Do you know what I mean? Like, he tries to make these big macho pronouncements like he's an actual world leader or something, our commander-in-chief. But he says stuff that sounds really dumb. Like, today I have directed the military, right, to blow up Iran's mines. Why didn't you do it before? Today I've told the Iranians, you better not place mines or we're blowing up your ships. Why didn't you tell the Iranians that 6 months ago? I mean, like, he waited 6 months? The war started 6 months ago. He waited until today to tell the Iranians not to put mines down, or he'd blow them up. Why? I mean, I just find it interesting when he makes these threats because anyway, you get it. What else we got? A federal judge in Minnesota will probe this week. I like the way these guys write. Will probe this week whether grounds exist to toss the Justice Department's case against journalist Don Lemon. It's the latest example of judges' growing skepticism of whether the department is behaving ethically behind closed doors in grand jury proceedings, according to CNN. So basically, as you know, Trump is trying to imprison a leading American journalist, Don Lemon, because he basically hung out with some protesters. Some protesters told him they were going to protest us in Minnesota, and he went with them. And Trump is arguing that it's illegal for reporters to be told that there's a protest coming up, even if the protest's illegal. No, it's not. And that if the reporter goes and embeds with the protesters and watches them and reports on it, it's illegal. No, it's not. And there's no way that court, honestly, what pisses me off, and this is what is so screwed up with our judicial system, why was this case not thrown out months ago? They don't have any proof of Don Lemon being a criminal. They don't have any proof of him being one of the protesters. He clearly was reporting on it. They should have thrown this thing out from the beginning, and they're not throwing it out. And I mean, this is the stuff where I think our courts basically, what Trump is trying to do with a lot of this is just harass people to death. He knows he's going to lose. He just wants to harass them. That's it. And he said this. He said it about, what's her face? Was it Letitia James, I think? No, it was about Lisa Cook. It was about Lisa, wait, it was about, what's it? It was in the last couple of weeks, guys. It was Lisa Cook or Letitia James. I'm forgetting which one. And he basically said, yeah, I may lose. I don't know. I just want to harass her and cost her a lot of money. That was what he claimed. I just wanted to harass her. Was it Lisa Cook? I thought it might have been Lisa Cook. He just wanted to harass her and cost her a lot of money and cost her a lot of psychological pain. That was it. You know? It was one or the other. I don't remember which. People are disagreeing now. But this is what he does. And this is what he's trying to do with Don Lemon. It's just harass Don Lemon and cost him money because Don Lemon was critical of Trump when he was at CNN. That's it. Again, it's dictator behavior. Dictator, basically. What else we got? I don't follow sports, but my nephew was talking with me about this in Arizona last week, and I just saw a New York Times story about it today. A new study indicates that 1 in 4 National Football League players get the degenerative brain disease known as CTE, John Branch reports, and that's under the most conservative of assumptions the researchers found. That's crazy. So conservatively, 1 in 4 American football players get CTE, what is CTE? This is the, what does CTE stand for? Somebody? It's from all the concussions they're getting. Alexa, what does CTE mean in terms of football players getting that brain disease?
CTE stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Oh.
Progressive brain disease linked to repeated head injuries in football players.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Ooh, I'm impressed. Banana got it first. I'm impressed. Banana. Very impressive on that one. So, although Amanda knew it too. A number of you did get it. The first person to get it was Banana over on TikTok. Basically, it is a pretty simple concept. These guys are running into each other and knocking their heads. Somebody hits you on the side really hard, running into you full speed and hits you. Boom, your head goes sideways. What happens? Your head and your brain, your skull and your brain are not going at the same time. So either your skull hits your brain or your brain hits the skull, but your brain is moving inside. And over time, it's causing damage. It's causing, I don't know if it's whiplash. Whiplash, we would tend to think of whiplash as being more your neck and muscles and bones and things like that. This is literally a concussion. I mean, your brain is sloshing back and forth. And after you do that for a period of years, they're concussions, exactly. It's causing massive damage. But the thing is, to find that 1 in 4 football players, that blows my mind. So the Moscow thing we talked about, which was basically U.S. CIA director went to Moscow. Not quite entirely clear why. Oh, that's gross, Paula. Was yours from an explosion or what? About CTE suffered by football players. True story, great movie. Which movie is it? JMC? Oh, the movie is called Concussion. Will Smith. Oh, I did not know that. Okay. Will Smith did a movie called Concussion. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if it caused dementia. I mean, that's scary stuff. Very scary stuff. What else we got? More Ukraine news. Ukrainian forces have struck facilities owned by Ozon, Russia's second largest e-commerce marketplace. So the Ukrainians have basically been destroying we call it Russia's version of Amazon. Russia does not have an Amazon. Amazon is not operating in Russia, but Russia has its own e-commerce store that is akin to Amazon. So we'll call it that. And the Ukrainians have been blowing the crap out of it. Just blowing up all the warehouses, and it's been kind of amazing. The e-commerce site does help supply the Russian military, get around sanctions, things like that. So it's a valid target, called Wildberry or Wildberries, exactly. But now the Ukrainians, thank you, Leon, keep the gifts coming, guys. The Ukrainians are going after the second largest Russian e-commerce site. Thank you, Jackie. This one's called Ozon. It's like ozone without an E at the end, Ozon. And anyway, oh well, what do you do? Couldn't have happened to nicer people. A Kremlin advisor has threatened that British factories, thank you, Jen to here, thank you. Jen to here, or Jen to her. I'm not going to get your name right, but thank you for that. A Kremlin advisor has threatened that UK factories producing drones for Ukraine could come under attack from unknown sources. Again, this is where the Brits need to basically just, pull a Thatcher, pull a Reagan, and just let them have it. And just say, you know what? You touch any of our factories, and we're going to be blowing up a factory. And the next factory that blows up in Moscow is going to be us. And unlike the Ukrainians, we're not going to blow up a part of it. Or we're not going to blow up one of them. But they need to just spell it out directly, and they need to do it. And I mean, it's dangerous, but the Russians cannot be permitted to commit acts of war like this. They're literally, I mean, probably they don't want to say it, but I think they should say it. They should just say it outright and say, you do that, and we're going to be blowing up factories in Moscow. And they would just be like, oh my God, right? What are you talking about? I mean, right. I think you guys are ignoring them, and I think it's a mistake. Just because they're not going away. The Russians have already committed multiple acts of war. I mean, they have. It's not like they're just threatening stuff. They're actually doing stuff like this. I sometimes, Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan had their problems, but sometimes when it dealt with standing up to like the Russians, I think they knew what they were doing. I really do. But what else we got here? Oh, thank you, Glitch. Appreciate that gift. Oh, I found that story you guys were talking about. Bradley Townsend, age 33, became the first Briton confirmed to die fighting for Russia after being killed by a first-person view drone strike in Donetsk province in eastern Ukraine. He claimed he joined to repay eastern Ukrainian miners who donated wages to Yorkshire miners during the 1980 UK strikes. Oh well. He's gone now. Finally, there was a very weird story today, but it was worth talking about in Reuters. Sky News wrote it up. Thank you, Tarad. And because of who did the interview and what he said, I think it's worth talking about. I don't know if he's right, but excuse me. I did talk about the CIA visit, but we can talk about it again in a second. Listen to this via Sky News. So, Mikhailo Fedorov, who was the Ukrainian defense minister before that, Zelensky fired him. Before that, he was in charge of all the kind of edgy internet war stuff, like in charge of like technology, but like drones and the really crazy internet stuff the Ukrainians were doing, right? Well, Fedorov does an interview with Reuters and says that he believes that Ukraine basically is, what did he say? That let me read this to you. I think that there's now a turning point which will determine our future trajectory, but it looks as though we're gradually, slowly losing, he said. Ukraine has every chance to win, but needs to quickly come up with a plan to end the conflict, he said. According to Fedorov, this is via Sky News, and then who's quoting Reuters, Ukraine has a window of a few months to press ahead with its campaign of drone strikes targeting fuel and military infrastructure in Russian-occupied southern Ukraine, a campaign he said he spearheaded. The operation could isolate Russian-occupied Crimea before Moscow works out how to respond to Ukrainian tactics. He's an important enough guy that when he says something like this, it's worth listening to. I've got to pull up the Reuters piece. I'm hoping the Reuters reporter did a better job because Sky News' write-up is honestly, I saw it right before the show or I would have grabbed it, the Reuters one. It's a little weak because, for example, the response to him should be, okay, what do you mean? Like you say, we could hit them really hard with more fuel strikes to isolate Crimea. Why? Who cares, right? What do you plan on doing? Are you going to invade Crimea and take it back? How are you going to do that? Do you have the men to do that? Do you have the weapons to do that? Do you have the tanks to do that? That would be my question. Would be like, it's all well and good to isolate Crimea. What does that mean? How practically, and why does it matter doing it now versus doing now? He would say now versus next year because he thinks right now the Ukrainians are getting away with it, that the Russians haven't figured out how to stop the Ukrainian strikes, and that therefore, if they wait until next year, the Russians may have a way of thwarting the Ukrainian strikes that are isolating Crimea. So that's a fair argument. But what do you plan on doing after you isolate Crimea would be my argument. And I'm not entirely sure what that is. So anyway, oh, I'm going to yawn at you again. Let's sit back and chat. That's it for the written news. We're still hanging out and talking, so don't worry. But that's it for the written portion of the show. I go through sort of the stories that I think matter, and then we hang out. Yeah, we can talk about. Patricia mentioned Hakeem Jeffries meeting with Jared Kushner. I was actually on, oh my God, I'm forgetting her name. How am I forgetting your name? Is it Joey? Oh my God, how am I forgetting your name here? I'm a crazy person. Where is this? Jody Hamilton. Yes, I was on Jody Hamilton's show today, who I had no idea was Carol Burnett's daughter. No clue. I'm an idiot. But it was on her radio show today. Very interesting. Very nice, good discussion. Thank you. I can't even pronounce your name. Berger. Your name's too long. Berger just gifted 5 memberships over on YouTube for the next month. So thank you for that. That was very sweet of you. So Jared Kushner, right, Trump's son-in-law, whatever, goes and has a meeting with Hakeem Jeffries, who is the top Democrat in the House of Representatives, who, if Democrats take back the House of Representatives, which is expected to happen in the November elections, Hakeem Jeffries is expected to be Speaker of the House, which would be he's in charge of everything. Trump wanted Jared Kushner to go meet with Jeffries to basically start to lay some of the groundwork for maybe how they can work together when Democrats take over the House. I have no problem with that. I mean, why not? Some people don't like that. I'm like, I don't care. First of all, politically, it looks good. Politically, to most Americans, especially Americans in the middle, they want Democrats and Republicans talking. They want Democrats and Republicans looking like they're trying to work together. So politically, looks great. Second of all, I don't care. You should. Why not talk to Jared Kushner? Talk to Donald Trump too. I don't care. Right? I mean, big deal. I think honestly, I think people that have a problem with it are a little too extreme, to be honest. I do. If any of you do, I disagree with you then, because I don't think it's very healthy to say, no, we shouldn't talk to them. Well, we should always talk to them. We shouldn't do what he wants, right? We shouldn't cave to Trump. We shouldn't cave to Kushner. I don't trust him either, but what do you think he's going to do? Slip a GPS device into Jeffrey's wallet? Steal his wife? I mean, that's what does I don't trust him mean, right? I don't know what that means. I don't trust the Russians either. Does that mean we shouldn't have arms control negotiations with them? I mean, of course we should, right? So I don't know what that means to say I don't trust them. Of course you don't trust them. I don't either. But guess what? If we're going to have a functioning government, we've got to talk to the Republicans and let the Republicans be the one who say, no, we're not going to talk to you, and watch the voters basically slap them down in the elections. Works for me. So that's my position. Yeah, I've never been one that's understood oh my God, you're talking to the bad guys. Yeah. And so what? You know, I just don't see the negative. Like I said, people freak out about that, whatever, you know, anyway, that's my thought on that. So anyway, what else? Well, I talked to Kushner because he's Trump's son-in-law. So he's clearly, and he's the one that Trump sends for all the negotiations. I think it's obvious why Kushner, because he's literally the only one who actually does speak for Donald Trump. Nobody else speaks for Trump. Ivanka would, right? But basically Jared Kushner, I would think, does speak for Trump. And Jared Kushner, I don't think he's crazy. I think he's a sycophant. I think Jared Kushner definitely bows down to the altar of Donald Trump, but I don't think Jared Kushner's crazy. So that he's also one of the less crazy people to talk to at the same time, which isn't a bad thing. He's got Donald Trump's ear. Yeah, he does. So why not? Again, I don't get what the negative is. You know, I don't see any negative. Well, guess who else is evil? The Russians and the North Koreans. And the Chinese. So, yeah, guess what? We got to negotiate with all of them at some point. You know, got to have meetings with them. You got to have diplomatic relations. Yeah. So, Ivanka, I think Ivanka's trying to stay out of it. People say it's weird that Ivanka hasn't been involved. I wonder if she's not trying to stay out of it. You know, I kind of have a feeling. I don't have enough of a, I actually don't have enough of an impression of Jeffries. We'll have to ask David Pakman when David Pakman's going to be joining us on September 8th. And maybe we'll try to remember to ask David about it, about what his impressions are, if he can say. I mean, you know, but if he's willing to say what his impressions are of Jeffries. I'm kind of agnostic. I don't have good or bad, really. I like Pelosi, for that matter. You know, people didn't like Pelosi. I liked her, you know. My back, by the way, America, you know how the Republicans like to complain about socialized medicine? I called the physical therapy today. They couldn't fit me in for a month. So then I called the physical therapy place, so I booked it. I then called the one that I don't like, and the one I don't like could fit me in 2 weeks. I mean, we already have socialized medicine in America. We already have rationing. My doctor I need to see initially couldn't fit me in till October 15th. I mean, and everybody else, this is how it is in America. Other than your main doctor, that's not English. Stands. It's your Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. If you don't spell it that way, if you spell it, you're idiot. By the way, your idiot isn't English either. He wrote your idiot. Y-O-U-R idiot. My idiot versus your idiot? Is that what that means? Like, well, actually, you know who that would make my idiot? Since you're talking about your idiot, who would my idiot be? I don't know. I have one, apparently. Yeah, your idiot. That's going to be, you lie. That's going to be another t-shirt. I can see it coming. You lie. I think so, Robert. It sounded, I don't know. TikTok likes us to be nice, so let's be nice. But you know, double knee replacement. Bah! Hello, American. Was it Hello, American? Was that what I always forget that one. Was that the one? Hello, American. Oh, God. Yeah, so, you know, what do you do? But no, the back was feeling a little better today, but that's because I was taking meloxicam, which I don't want to take because it's giving me heartburn. So I'm stopping the meloxicam again. Let's see what the back does. I'm trying just the muscle relaxants, which are totally like, you know, totally knocking me out. But what do you do? You know, so we'll see. We'll see. Exactly. You are an idiot. That works too. But exactly. Yeah, that's okay, Christopher. We talked about it at the very beginning. We can talk about it again now. Christopher said, what are your thoughts on the CIA being in Moscow today, removing the flag from the embassy? I don't know what's up with the flag thing. Bunch of doomsday planes flying. I don't know what's up with the flag. I did not hear about. People were talking about that at the beginning of the show. Something about the U.S. flag at the embassy or something. I don't know what the heck that's about. You know, let me pull this up. U.S. CIA Director Ratcliffe apparently went to Moscow. In the past, when I'm going to put this flag, let me pull this up. Flag, U.S. Embassy, Moscow. In the past, when the CIA director went to Moscow, it was for very serious things. Like, it wouldn't just be for a prisoner exchange. It would be to warn them, which we did, to warn them they better not invade Ukraine. They did anyway, but that's the kind of important thing it would be. So I'm not sure what the deal was in terms of where. Now, it's certainly possible. Kind of weird having it come from the Trump administration because they're not exactly very strong on defense. But it's possible that, thank you, Blue, that Ratcliffe was trying to send the message to Moscow that you better not attack Europe, that we know you're planning cute little things against Poland and the Baltic states and also the UK. And basically, we know what it is. Yep, thank you again, Blue. That we know what it is, and you better not do it. Maybe we do know what it is, and maybe it's something pretty serious. So that's one possibility. The problem is the Trump administration is not exactly a normal pro-American administration. normal Republican and Democratic presidents would send someone to Moscow to warn them not to attack our allies. Trump would turn to our allies and say, "Hey, I want $1 million, or I'm not sending Ratcliffe to Moscow to defend you. Where's my $1 billion?" New British Prime Minister whose name I can't remember. Was it Andy? What is it? Hammond? I forget what the guy's name is. I can't remember the new British Prime Minister. You guys keep changing them way too fast for us, by the way. Right? But that's what Trump would do. I have a hard time believing Trump would just send the CIA director to help the Brits and to help, Burnham. There you go, Burnham. Andrew Burnham. Yep. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. The Moscow thing, as I suspected, looks like it's bullshit. What a surprise. You guys should not be repeating rumors. It's an unsubstantiated rumor. Yes, it's an unsubstantiated rumor. Quelle surprise. Yeah. Oh, okay, even better. It's an unsubstantiated rumor from Russian news sources. Yeah. Okay. Right. I mean, maybe. I don't believe it. Yeah. First of all, a couple things. One, I don't believe it. Second of all, the flag could have been shredded and they're putting up a new one, which happened a lot here. I had pictures of the White House with the flag shredded. I was like, oh my God, it looked horrible. So, it's okay, Christopher. So yeah, I don't, the flag thing sounds kind of dumb to me. Also, think about it too. Donald Trump, do you really think Donald Trump is taking the American flag down from the U.S. Embassy in Moscow? I mean, again, maybe to put up a bigger one, but Trump isn't going to take the flag down because Putin doesn't like the flag or something. There's just I can envisage no scenario in which we're taking the flag down and, oh my God, it's a big story. I don't, even for Donald Trump, I don't think, no. Let's see, but I'll be surprised if it's a real story. So there. Hang on a second. I'm just remembering. Something. Hold on. All right. There we go. Hold on. All right. Sorry. I was just writing a note. What else? Anyway, what else is going on, guys? 6:53. Is that now? Oh, that was 2020. Okay, that was 2020 gone through. Yeah. What else? La. My key lime pie turned out very well. I've been eating it like a pig, but it's very good. I got a bunch of key limes when I was in Arizona and made pie. It's excellent. I've never made key lime pie from limes. It's quite good. It's very good. Could be a prisoner exchange of why thank you, Cricket. Why the CIA director went to Moscow. It could be a prisoner exchange. It's a little senior for that. Actually, one thing that worries me is whether Trump wanted a senior official to go to, reopen the relationship with Moscow. That's my fear. My fear would be that, that the CIA director went to reinitiate a new relationship, because I'm like, ugh. I mean, you do have to talk to people, but I worry that in Trump's case, it would be a pandering relationship, Brent Crude is down today. That's good. Out of frame on YouTube. Oops. How's that now? Well, that's going to be kind of annoying if YouTube does that. That's very annoying. YouTube should do a better job of keeping me in frame. I don't want to have to sit in just this position. I assume this is more in frame. But I don't want to just, I see. Actually, I see there. Okay. I see. Yeah. You know what? Or I can turn it like this. Here we go. I can see it is letting me see the other image. There we go. That should have me in frame on YouTube now, I think. That's better. Here. Because I can put a little one up on the screen so I can see what it looks like, which I just did. Anyway, what else? But I've been eating like too much key lime, like a bit too much, to be honest. It's kind of like going, oh my God. But yes, I can see the image now. What else? What What else is going on, guys? Even in Germany, if you're not insured privately, you can take months to see a doctor in a specialty. I did not know that. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, and that's also, the funny part is that's what Americans like to pretend. Oh, socialized medicine in Europe. It takes you forever to see a doctor. Have you ever tried to see a specialist in America? Like I said, oh my God. Thank you, Annie. You know, not easy here too, always. Certainly not in this town in Washington. It's not easy, you know? Yeah, I make the crust from scratch, but it's easy because with a key lime pie, you'd make a like a graham cracker crust. Graham cracker crusts are easy. Regular crust, I'm not a fan of. Can you post a new headline? You can try, Harry. I mean, I guess there's no reason you can't. Yeah, go ahead. I don't mind. We'll see if people think it's interesting. Yep. Still not, WC says, still not. BBC and CBS, nobody's confirming why the CIA director went to Moscow today. But yes, the sun is shining in. My hair has not been cut for several weeks, though. Thanks, but this is the haircut from several weeks ago. Bessett's financial lead date. Yeah, well, nothing happened. Justin was asking about our Treasury Secretary threatening to, actually, I got to tell you, the people who hate America are the people who don't support our troops, I think. One of the trolls says we hate America. Well, I support the troops. Donald Trump doesn't. I support fighting inflation and unemployment. Donald Trump doesn't. I support standing up to the Russians and the Chinese and the North Koreans. Donald Trump doesn't. I support not stealing billions of dollars for my own family. Donald Trump doesn't. I got to tell you, all of that makes it sound like Donald Trump's the one that doesn't like our country and doesn't like our system. Funny that way. Yeah, bye, Greg. What else we got? That's all they got. I mean, it's all they got. You hate America, except that I'm the one who actually cares about the troops. Except I'm the one who cares about a strong defense. I'm the one who doesn't think we should be firing all the generals. I'm the one who doesn't think we should just treat our soldiers like cannon fodder and not care about their lives. I'm the one who thinks we should stand up to the Russians and the Chinese and the North Koreans. And we should defend our allies like the South Koreans and the Europeans against our enemies. That sounds like I'm the one who actually cares about defending America. Actually, it sure does. What else we got? Yeah, Besant, I mean, whatever. It was another taco. Trump's Treasury Secretary threatened it was going to be, or Trump did. It was going to be economic D-Day yesterday, and we were going to destroy Iran with economic measures. And then yesterday, Besant goes, well, it was a framework for it was a theoretical framework for negotiations. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the concept. That thank you, Cheryl. That it wasn't really economic D-Day. It was a concept of economic D-Day to help us with the negotiations. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Right? This is what they do. They just. The Trump people, they just can't stand up to any of our enemies. It's like, okay, just a concept, you know? I mean, man. By the way, speaking of moving to another country, someone said move to another country. I guess the ones who keep moving to other countries, though, are the Republicans, right? It's the Trump supporters who moved to Moscow, the ones in Canada, the ones in America. They're the ones who keep leaving our country. Who is it that keeps losing wars to the enemies? Donald Trump. He's the one who lost the war to Iran. Who's the one that keeps wanting to cave to Vladimir Putin? Donald Trump. Who's the one who caves to the Chinese? Donald Trump. Who's the one who really caves to North Korea? He just did again this week. Called off military exercises because North Korea might have gotten upset and bruised if we defended our allies. Donald Trump called off those military exercises, didn't he? Weak Donald Trump. Thank you, Cricket. Appreciate that. Very sad, very sad. Anyway, Ashley had to move over. Whatever you could do, Ash. Well, Biden, I will say that, Trump and Biden, it wasn't just Trump and Biden who lost the Taliban in Africa. It was in Afghanistan. It was Trump. And this is, again, Democrats suck at messaging. Democrats are much worse at messaging than they are at policy. Democrats have a lot of good policies, but they suck at messaging. Republicans are great at messaging. Policies, less good. Let's talk about Afghanistan. Donald Trump negotiates a peace deal with the Taliban in Afghanistan. Donald Trump withdraws 2/3 of the American military from Afghanistan. Donald Trump leaves 5,000 troops or so pretty much abandoned at an air base in the middle of, in the middle of Afghanistan, right? Leaves them in the middle of Kabul, basically. Our soldiers are surrounded, 5,000 of them, by the Taliban. Taliban could open fire at any moment if we broke the agreement, okay? So Trump leaves our soldiers undefended, 5,000 of them in the middle of Kabul, right? Takes away all the rest of the 2/3 of the troops, gone. Trump removes them. So all the support our remaining troops need have been removed. Then what happens? Trump's term ends. And Trump, by the way, Trump also released 5,000 Afghan terrorists. Taliban terrorists were released from Gitmo and other places, okay? So Trump releases 5,000 Taliban terrorists. He removes nearly all U.S. troops from Afghanistan. He leaves 5,000 U.S. troops remaining in one spot, surrounded by Taliban fighters, so that if we don't abide by the agreement, they're going to kill the U.S. troops because they surrounded them, right? And then what happens? Joe Biden takes over because Trump leaves office. He loses. Biden takes over. Biden slows things down because it's a mess. Trump has negotiated a disaster with the Taliban. Now, I don't know what else could be done because it was a disaster anyway, but nonetheless, Trump's agreement, total disaster. Biden slows things down. Google this. It's true. Biden slows things down. He slows down the withdrawal of U.S. troops because it's getting dangerous. What does Donald Trump do? April of 2021, Google it. Donald Trump speaks out publicly. He's no longer president, and urges President Biden to uphold the treaty and keep withdrawing U.S. troops because Trump is getting worried because it's going a little slow. That the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan is going a little too slow for Donald Trump. That's what happened. Biden, by September, I believe U.S. troops were supposed to be gone by July or so, something like that. Biden doesn't remove them till September. Trump wanted them earlier. Everyone blames Biden for removing the troops. A, he removed them because it was Donald Trump's peace treaty that required us to remove them. B, Donald Trump removed 2/3 of American troops from Afghanistan. Biden had 1/3 left. That's it. C, Donald Trump abandoned like 5,000 U.S. troops at the military base in Afghanistan. They were surrounded by the Taliban. If we violated the treaty with the Taliban, they would have opened fire on our troops who were surrounded with no backup and would have killed them. There you go. There you go. But what pisses me off is this is the kind of bullshit Biden, terrible at messaging, but Democrats overall. You didn't hear Democrats making this argument. I would have made the argument from day one and said, this is Donald Trump's peace treaty. You got a problem with it, you talk to Donald Trump. He left the troops undefended. He removed 2/3 of our troops. He cut the deal. He left our troops surrounded, so we didn't have a choice but to remove them. And he criticized us in early 2021 because he didn't think he was afraid we weren't removing the troops fast enough. I'm going to see if I can find, I had that article. This time I'm going to save that article. I don't know if I can find it again. I'm going to try with ChatGPT to see if I can find the article again. With one of Trump when he spoke out and criticized let me pull this up. And, implicitly criticized Biden. Hold on. I'm waiting for my ChatGPT to pull up. Okay, so, hey, boyfriend, I've got a job for you. There is an article or several articles. I know they exist. They're from approximately April of 2021. And Donald Trump was not president at that point, but he spoke out publicly, maybe via tweet, I don't know, but spoke out publicly about the peace treaty with Afghanistan. Trump had already negotiated it. He had removed 2/3 of the troops. There was about 1/3 of the troops left. Biden's now president. And as you know, a few months later, like September, Biden removes everybody and it's a disaster, right? But in April or so of 2021, Trump is quoted in the press. I've seen it, but I want you to find the quotes for me, talking about how basically, as I recall, it's important that Biden keep the withdrawal going, that he keep up the schedule, something like that. Can you find the articles I'm talking about? Or article.
In April 2021, Donald Trump issued a written statement saying that withdrawing from Afghanistan was a positive step. He emphasized that he had planned the withdrawal from May 1st and felt Biden should stick as close to that schedule as possible. Trump supported the idea of leaving, but criticized Biden for extending the timeline to September 11th, 2021. This statement was part of the ongoing debate on the timing of the U.S. troop withdrawal.
Thank you. Thank you. That's even better than you're okay. You can stop talking now. That's even better than I remember. See, that's even better than I remember. I mean, I love that. I told you I didn't want to overplay. I try to be careful with the news with you guys, so I'm keeping things true, right? And I remembered him actually criticizing Biden, but I couldn't remember the details. Trump, the deal was to remove the troops by May. And Trump was getting worried that Biden was going too slow in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. So in April, Trump said, you need to try to get all of our troops out next month. Biden then took 4 months to do it because he was worried and wanted to be more careful. Everyone criticized Biden, and not a single Democrat or the media turned around and said, well, all you Republicans criticizing Joe Biden for leaving Afghanistan in September, Donald Trump wanted us to do it 4 months ago. This is the bullshit we have to deal with this stuff. That's what I'm saying. That was even better than I remember. Alexa, raise the temperature 1 degree. Even better than I remember. See, I told you. I remembered it because I read it and I was like, oh my God, that's like a hell of a quote. Yeah. There you go. Would I lead you astray? I ask you, right? I wouldn't lead you astray. Anyway. You'd think the presidency would have certain requirements to be president. Yeah, it is being 35 years old and born in America. That's it. That's literally it. I think it's 35. 35 years old and born on U.S. soil. Those are the only 2 requirements. Well, more or less. Yep. Anyway, so there you go. But yeah, and the Afghanistan stuff just pisses me off. I know that doesn't mean Biden could, but the problem is, had Biden dragged things out, had Biden moved troops back to help support the troops, the Taliban would have seen that as a violation and they would have attacked our troops. So it's really kind of screwed up as to what Biden could have done. I don't know if you have to live in the U.S. for 14 years. Are you sure about that? I'm not sure about that, Maddie. I don't know. I think it's pretty much the 35 years old. We can ask, but I think it's 35 years old, born on U.S. soil. And I mean, the whole aspect of, if you're already president twice, you can't be it and stuff. I don't think there's any other requirements. Hold on. Are there any other requirements to be president other than 35 years of age and a natural born U.S. citizen?
Yes, there's one more. You need to have been a resident of the United States for at least 14 years. So in summary, you must be a natural born citizen.
Wait. Somebody just said that on TikTok and I didn't believe them. What's the exact language? You have to be a resident of the U.S. for 14 years? That's hilarious.
It's right in the Constitution. Article 2, Section 1 says you must have been 14 years a resident within the United States. So yeah, not just age and citizenship. It's all
Funny. That is hilarious. And is that interpreted as 14 years before you run for president or 14 years total of your lifetime? That's wild.
It doesn't have to be the 14 years immediately before you run. It just means that at some point in your life,
I thought you were nuts. I'm like, 14 years? I've never heard that before. I'm thinking you're crazy. Where did you pull that one from? That's hilarious. 14 years. Wow. Very interesting. Yeah, I'd never heard that before. That's really interesting. Wow. Okay. Kind of wild. Was he the youngest, though? Are you sure about that? WC, that can't be true. Wasn't Kennedy younger? Teddy Roosevelt was 42. He was the youngest, was he? Maybe. I thought Kennedy or somebody else was younger, I thought. Also elected, you get into all of those games. Yeah, I think Kennedy. You get into the games of whether they were elected or whatever. who was the youngest president and how old was he? I don't care how he was elected.
The youngest president was Theodore Roosevelt. He became president at 42 years old when he took office after President McKinley's assassination.
And how old was JFK when he became president? People always talk about him being youngest, obviously wrong.
John F. Kennedy was indeed the youngest elected president, but he took office at the age of 43. So while he was the youngest to be elected, he was slightly older than Theodore Roosevelt when actually assuming the presidency.
And how old was Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton was 46 years old when he took office in January.
Okay, that's funny. I was remembering something about elected versus blah, blah, blah. That's what it is. So Kennedy was the youngest elected, but Roosevelt was the youngest president. God, I never knew that about Roosevelt. That's funny. Yeah. Okay, okay, you're right. You were right. Everyone's right today about stuff. Jeez. Jeez. All right. Oldest living president? Probably Trump, I don't know. Or Biden? And who was the oldest president in office?
The oldest president in office was Joe Biden. When he was sworn in, he was 78 years old, and he remained in office into his 80s, making him the oldest president to serve.
What age was Biden when he left office, and how old will be Trump when he leaves office, assuming he doesn't get kicked out earlier?
Joe Biden finished his presidency at 82 years and 2 months old in January 2025. As for Donald Trump, if he were to finish a full term without leaving early, it would depend on the exact year he left. But based on his birth date of June 14th, 1946, he would be in his late 70s.
Wait, what do you mean it depends on the last... What do you mean it depends on the year he leaves? You know when the presidency ends? Come on, do a little research here. It's not like the day the presidency ends is up for grabs or something. It depends.
Left office at 82 years and 2 months old in January 2025. If Donald Trump were to serve a full term ending in January 2029, he would be about 82 years and 7 months old.
So he'd be older. Okay.
Exactly. If he served that...
That's like one of those ChatGPT things. Well, it all depends when Donald Trump were to leave office. How about he leaves office when he's constitutionally required to leave office? Although I guess I'll give ChatGPT some credit. It's when you ask about how old Donald Trump will be when it leaves office, ChatGPT goes, well, it kind of depends when he leaves office, which isn't an incorrect thing to say when discussing when Donald Trump plans on leaving the presidency. So, maybe it didn't want to say, hey, dude, like, there are some issues here that you may be aware of. That's what I mean. That was a little weird of a comment to make. Yeah. Maybe ChatGPT wasn't being so obsequious after all. Yeah. I thought it was being obnoxious, and it was actually being prescient. Imprecise, and it was prescient. Anyway, weird stuff. Oh, man. Anyway, what else would I... Oh, it's 7:13 already. We're almost done. Woo-woo. We're almost done. Woo, woo, woo. Anyway. Anywho. Anyway, what else? A couple more minutes. I'm considering triaging a few of my plants. I'm considering going through the garden and maybe like I've got a rose bush that just doesn't do well. And I think the rose bush might be on its last leg, like in terms of bye-bye. I've got some bamboo that also doesn't do very well. I think it's okay, but I had inherited it from our rooftop. So I'm considering like finally going through and maybe like going, big black bag time. And I've got like my African violet that I transplanted that is not happy. It may be going away too. The olive is doing very well. My lemon tree is doing very well. Because also, since I got some new plants, I have a zero-sum policy on new plants now. But I also have some oleander that I got in Arizona, which for TikTok, it's this right here for TikTok. For YouTube and company, it's hiding back here. You might be able to just see it for YouTube and everybody else. But I love oleander. I always have. So I got a cutting of that, of one that was particularly beautifully smelling. And I don't know, anybody who knows oleander, I don't know whether it depends when it flowers or not, but This one was an amazing scent you could smell, miles away practically. And some of the other ones didn't smell strong at all. It's super poisonous, but I don't plan on eating it, so and we'll be fine. Like, I will not be eating it, and I don't have any pets right now, so so that's fine. Snake plant didn't well. Snake plants should be pretty easy, Paula. Sorry. But poisonous to dogs, correct. No dog is getting near there. So anyway, but I've always loved oleander. Very poisonous, but the smell is just amazing. Thank you, Zoo. The smell is just amazing. Absolutely incredible smell. That I've always loved oleander. I mean, you get it in southern France especially. I think Greece does too. But southern France especially has them just in the the Riviera. Beautiful. And the smell from them, oh my God. Oh, it's just stunning. But I don't know whether, like I said, there were multiple colors, and like the red one wasn't smelling. And I don't know if the red one wasn't smelling because it bloomed at a different time, or the red one just didn't smell as well. But there was one that was kind of light pink, and I didn't love the color. Thanks, guys. Thanks to Michelle. I didn't love the color, but the scent was so powerful that I went, you know what, I'm grabbing that one. Now I'm going to be a little pissed if they all smell the same, because then I would have grabbed the red one, because red's my favorite. But it smelled so pungently and amazingly. So we'll see. It's supposed to root very easily. So I've got it in water. In a couple of weeks, it should start rooting, and then I'm going to plant it and keep it inside over the winter, because it's in DC you can't grow it outside in the winter. But it'll be an inside plant, but that's why I'm going to start to triage some of the other, like that one African violet's going away, and some of the other plants outside. I think I'm going to be like, all right, some of you are going bye-bye. So what do you do? Hey, Richard in Toronto. So anyway, all right, guys, we're at 7:17. I think I'm going to sign off. I think I'm signing off. Yeah, but it's one of Mom's violets, but it's just not doing. I transplanted it. Honestly, I'd be afraid of shipping it. Also, I can't ship it anyway. It's in too heavy of a pot. I could do leaves, but it's so unhappy. Every time I transplant the African violets, they're a disaster. And this one has been just sluggish. And it's not my favorite anyway, but it's also just very unhappy. I mean, I could do cuttings of leaves, but that's it. It's the whole plant is too much. I'm keeping the one I like, which is the variegated one. But the other ones, I'm like, or the other one, I'm keeping the Christmas cactus. Although I do have the Christmas cactuses that I've got to mail. Actually, mods, one of you had names of people. I'm forgetting now again. Ash or Manda, I thought it was one of you who knew who it was that wanted the Christmas cactuses, because I've got to, now that we're in September almost, I think I should be looking at mailing those off, or soon, right? When it's not too, I'm looking here. I don't think let's see. Yeah, I don't think no. I did not. I mean, you guys told me, and then I didn't write it down anywhere. Okay. Yeah, we've got to see who it was that want Big Hawk. I know maybe in the mod forum we can chat again and do it and just reiterate who wants what. Send me your addresses and make sure we get the other addresses, because I can get them going soon. DC's getting 90 again next week, but I can look at the next month, depending where you live, and get them off, because these things have been sitting here forever, So, no, my plant are not children. We're talking about plants. Somebody goes, you're a child killer. No, I'm a plant killer. And I'm not even a plant killer, actually, because I'm great with plants. I'm amazing with plants. So there. Okay, thanks, Ash. You sent in a text? My texts disappear after a while. If you've got them on your end, unless you just sent them now. Unless you sent them now, then I've got. Otherwise, you didn't send it now. If you've got the text on your end, and you could double check, because I don't have it. My texts disappear after 30 days. So, unfortunately. Sorry. I was going to say I'm a plant, but I'm not a plant murderer, because I save plants. Yeah, if you could double check, thanks. Ugh, sorry about that. Yeah, I should have just copied it. I think I saw it there and I didn't think I had to copy it, but of course my text messages delete after a while, so I wasn't thinking of oops on that front. But anyway, yeah, so we'll get the other Christmas cactus stuff mailed out because they've been in water for 2 years, so I think they're fine. But then, yeah, then I want to just cut, and then I want to get some drip watering so I can set up automatic watering on my balcony. Because then then I can go for long vacations and not feel as guilty having Damien water my plants. If the outside can at least water itself to a degree, that would be very nice. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. I haven't decided yet. So anyway, all right, guys, I am going to go. It's already 7:21. So will it be cold in DC? I don't know. El Nino, I don't know what El Nino is going to do. I mean, I know we were talking about a bad El Nino, but, we'll see. Anyway, guys, all right, I am going to say sayonara. See you all mañana, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S. is when we do this, so join us at 6 o'clock. Otherwise, Discord, I say goodnight to you first. Big crowd there. See you guys, thank you. Bam. All right, and then TikTok, you're last, you know that. YouTube and Substack and everybody else, have a good night.